Coming to mineralocorticoids, aldosterone, the chief mineralocorticoid secreted from the adrenal gland is uh, aldosterone. The other mineralocorticoids are deoxycorticosterone, 9-alpha fluorocortisol, which is synthetic, and mineralocorticoids, they are called as life-saving hormones. If you see their effect on the renal tubules, they increases reabsorption from the tubular fluid into the tubular epithelial cells. They also helps in potassium excretion, that is active reabsorption of sodium occurs in exchange of uh, potassium and hydrogen. So thus they also helps in excretion of H plus ions. Their effect on the extracellular fluid volume. When sodium is reabsorbed from the renal tubules, simultaneously water is also reabsorbed, which causes increase in the volume of extracellular fluid. If you see its effect on blood pressure is increased due to the increase in extracellular fluid volume and blood volume. Aldosterone escape. When aldosterone secretion increases, extracellular fluid volume and blood volume is increased, leading to rise in the blood pressure. Elevated blood pressure stimulates secretion of atrial natriuretic peptide from atrial muscles, and it causes excretion of excess salt and water through the urine, which is called as pressure natriuresis and pressure diuresis. So thus the content of salt and water in ECF becomes normal in spite of increase in the secretion of aldosterone, which leads to prevention of the edema is called as aldosterone escape. If you see its effect on the salivary and sweat glands, sodium reabsorption from sweat gland and loss of sodium is prevented. And if you see the effect on the intestine, it enhances the sodium reabsorption from the intestine, especially in the colon, and prevents the loss of sodium through the feces. Mechanism of action of aldosterone. Aldosterone binds to cytoplasm receptors, and this receptor hormone complex moves to the nucleus where it alters the transcription of mRNAs. This in turn increases the production of proteins that alter cell function. The aldosterone stimulated proteins have two effects. Initial rapid effect to increase the activity of epithelial sodium channels, and a slower effect to increase the synthesis of epithelial sodium channels themselves. Aldosterone activates the gene for serum and glucocorticoid regulated kinase, and this SGK increases the epithelial sodium channel activity. Aldosterone also increases mRNA for 3 subunits that make up epithelial sodium channels. And aldosterone also increases the activity of membrane sodium potassium exchanges, and this produces an increase in the intracellular sodium. Regulation of aldosterone secretion. 4 factors are involved in the regulation. The stimulatory agents for aldosterone secretion are given below in the order of importance. The first thing is increasing the potassium concentration ions in the extracellular fluid volume, then increased activity of renin-angiotensin system, then decrease in sodium ion concentration, and ACTH are the regulatory factors for aldosterone secretion. So whenever there is increase in potassium concentration, decrease in sodium concentration, decrease in extracellular fluid volume, it stimulates the extraglomerular apparatus to produce angiotensin. Angiotensin gets converted into angiotensin 1, then 2. Then it is going to stimulate adrenal cortex to produce aldosterone. Aldosterone acts on the kidney, and it helps in the excretion of the potassium, retention of the sodium, and retention of the water. Thus it decreases potassium concentration, increasing the sodium levels, and increasing ECF, which by feedback